The initial setup of the iThemes Exchange plugin and membership add-on is managed from two different locations: Settings and Add-ons under the Exchange tab in the main admin menu. Over the next couple of movies, I'll walk you through the setup process for these two plugins, starting with company info and customer-facing messaging. It's important to configure these settings right off the bat so you don't forget, and it's also important to revisit these settings as your site and membership grows to ensure you're reaching your audience in the best and most effective way. We'll start with the general settings for iThemes Exchange, found under Exchange and Settings in the General tab. Here we start out by setting up the company details. This is the information about your own company, things like company name, tax ID, email, phone, address, and so on. This is the information that's provided in invoices, and it's what people will see when they interact with you, so it's important that this is correct. Next, we have the store settings. Now, we are building a paid membership site here, but because we're using iThemes Exchange, the nomenclature around the store is that it's a store with products, so the memberships are just products. That's why we have store settings. Here we can order the products by publish date or ID or anything else. We can also manually order them later, which is what we're going to do. Then we have the currency settings where you can set the default currency. Default is United States dollar, but you can choose from a number of different currencies here. You can also set the symbol position for the currency, either before or after, depending on the currency you're using, as well as the thousandths separator and the decimal separator. Scrolling further down, we have customer registration settings, and here we start with the customer registration itself. By default, it's set to use Exchange registration only. That means if anyone tries to register to the WordPress site, they will automatically be taken to the Exchange registration page, where they register with all the information Exchange needs. If you switch this to use WordPress registration setting instead, you'll end up with a situation where you can either register through Exchange or you can register through the regular WordPress registration system. I don't recommend doing this because that kind of takes the user out of the general experience of the site. So in most cases, you want to keep it checked as use Exchange registration only. The default checkout form can be switched between registration and login, so I would leave that at registration. And then there's some information about the style sheets if you want to have custom styles. You can also set the admin settings to enable the visual editor for product descriptions. You can enable pop-ups and zooms and all this kind of stuff. And then we get to the customer messages. This is the information the customer gets when they sign up for an account, and here you can modify the message in any way you like. You'll notice that within this message, we have some dynamic content in the form of a shortcode. It's right here, it exchange customer, and you can show different types of information here. So this is the default information that's in here, but you can use a number of different attributes to input different information. So here's some example. IT exchange customer show avatar, avatar size 50, and so on. All that information is provided right here, and you can use it in any way you like to create a customized message when people first sign up. Back at the top, we have the Email Settings tab, and this controls the emails that are being sent out by Exchange. So this is just the store portal. The first set of settings are the admin notifications. This is the information you get as an administrator when people interact with the site, in specifics when they sign up for products. So there's a default message here, your friend, and then the name of the person just bought all this awesomeness from your store. I'd recommend changing this to something a little more professional, but remember, this is information that's sent to you. It's not sent out to the customer. What's sent out to the customer appears below. So if we scroll down here, you get customer receipt email. And from here, you can set up both the email address it's sent from, the email name it's sent from, the subject line, and the full message. And here you have a long list of shortcode attributes you can use to customize this message to fit with your particular store. I recommend spending a fair bit of time on this particular message to ensure you are communicating the information you need to your customers in the best way possible. Speaking of communicating with the customers, there's a second set of settings that are targeted specifically at the membership add-on. Those settings are found under Add-ons, Enabled, and Membership. From this panel, we can customize the restricted content messages. So this is the information that's being displayed when a customer comes in but does not have access to the current content. Again, this is something I recommend you spend some time with to ensure you are communicating the right message to your customers about blocked content and how to gain access to it. You have a restricted content message. You also have a delayed content message if you're using drip content. And you have a restricted product message and a delayed product message if you're providing products in form of downloads or other things. On the bottom, you have these three fields: default prerequisite label, intended audience label, and objectives label. These relate to how you set up membership levels. When you create membership levels, you can define prerequisites, intended audiences, and objectives. But if you want to, you can change the text here either by translating it to a different language or changing the meaning of the text to provide other types of information. You'll see more about this later on when we start creating the actual membership levels. There's one final part of the initial setup we need to do. So I'll go back to add-ons and enabled. And this time I'll go to recurring payments. From here, we get to customize the messages that are sent out to customers who've signed up for recurring payments and who are either canceling the payment or not making their payments. So here we have the recurring payments canceled email that you can fill out with the same shortcodes as you saw previously, and the recurrent payments expired email, again with the same shortcodes. If you want a reference to the shortcodes, you can get them down here at the bottom. And just like with all the other fields you've seen in this movie, I recommend you spend some time on these fields to customize the message. Because if someone is either canceling or letting their recurring payments expire, this is a good chance for you to reach out to them and see if you can get them back into the system. So formatting these messages correctly will give you a chance to regain customers you are about to lose.